It is a day that ends in Y, so there is a conversation inevitably about the fate of House Speaker Mike Johnson. In that light, Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has called up a motion to oust the Speaker. Nikole Killion joins us now with a quick update from Capitol Hill. Nikole, fill us in.
Well, this shouldn't really come as a surprise to anyone. I mean, just yesterday, obviously, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene seemed like she was backing off of her threat to move forward with this motion to vacate. But keep in mind, last week she did preview that she was going to trigger this motion. And even as recently as yesterday, after she met with Speaker Johnson, I asked her if she was still planning to move forward with it, if she was going to rule out moving forward with this, considering she had met with the Speaker both Monday and Tuesday. She did not rule it out. So the fact that she is on the floor right now, again, does not really come as a surprise, although to some it may, because just yesterday she also said that she was going to give the Speaker some space, that the ball was in her court, that she had put forth the ideas that she would like to see him implement as Speaker. And so she said that she was going to give him some time, although she didn't want the process to be dragged out. So what changed between now and then, we really don't know. We have to wait to see once the Congresswoman comes off the floor. But I can tell you it is a very awkward and to a certain extent raucous dynamic inside of the House chamber right now. I just left the chamber and Speaker Mike Johnson is literally just a few feet away from Marjorie Taylor Greene as she called up this motion to vacate. At times he was seen shaking his head. Marjorie Taylor Greene at times was being interrupted by members who were talking over her, at times some booing her as she brought up this motion to vacate. We know that Democrats have made clear that if she were to make this move, that they would try to table it outright. So that is what we are now watching for, to see how this process will now progress.
Translation of that last part from Nikole: House Democrats may be crucial to the preservation of the speakership of Republican Mike Johnson. Nikole on Capitol Hill, thank you very much. I want to bring in our political panel, Caitlin Huey-Burns and Hogan Gidley. Caitlin, as you all know and appreciate, a CBS News political correspondent. Hogan previously served as White House Deputy Press Secretary in the Trump administration. Hogan, I must start with you. There was a conversation, it was widely reported, no one's denied it, so I'm going to take it at face value, that Marjorie Taylor Greene and former President Trump had a call this weekend. And the former president said, don't do this. And she's doing it anyway. What does that tell you?
I don't know. I mean, this is a very interesting time right now. I was with Speaker Johnson.
Is it shrewd or dumb?
Look, I was with Speaker Johnson. I was with Speaker Johnson today, talking about the SAVE Act, of course, which is trying to prevent people who aren't American citizens from voting in American elections. And, you know, the Chip Roy was there, and we had Senator Mike Lee was there. And, of course, a lot of the questions were about this particular instance. Look, I don't know what it gets us as a Republican Party right now. You had to jockey a lot to get kind of the rules in place for someone like the previous speaker to have his post. But now these rules exist. And it's obvious that some people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, others will try to hang that around Speaker Johnson's neck and prevent him from moving forward as Speaker. Look,
is it good for the Republican Party to have yet another public outburst about the fate of its own speaker and its fragile House Republican majority?
It's not great. It's not great. We need to govern. We need to do things that the constituency sent us there to do. But at the same time, Marjorie Taylor Greene has a constituency as well. And chances are they may want her to do this, and she's just doing what they want her to do.
And that constituency may or may not include the wishes of the former president?
Well, look. You know, it's interesting because the media always tries to pretend like he has control over all these things, and then all of a sudden he doesn't have control over all these things. So which is it? The fact is, I'm sure Donald Trump made his opinion well known because he likes to do that. Whether she heeds that advice or not,
clearly in this case she's not.
It doesn't seem like she's going to do that.
Caitlin, your impressions of this moment?
Well, I think that you bring up a really good point, which is that Democrats have said, Hakeem Jeffries in the 60 Minutes interview a couple of days ago, said that they
CBS
are going
program,
to,
by the way.
Little plug there, essentially said that he believes that Democrats are effectively the majority because they've been having to bail out the speaker, and they're prepared to do so because they don't want to have this chaos going into the election. But a fragile majority is exactly that. What is it? One seat majority. And this is not only on the speakership, but on major pieces of legislation like foreign aid funding we just saw recently.
Mm-hmm. So there was a primary in Indiana yesterday. President Trump won, but Nikki Haley got 22%. She's not running. She's suspended. She hasn't done anything for weeks upon weeks. 22%. Hogan, does that tell you anything of note?
No, it tells me that other than the fact that Donald Trump still has a massive control of the Republican Party and that he's winning all these states and has in landslides to this point. Nikki Haley was one of those contrarian votes. She wanted to take the party back to kind of that establishment, corporatist, elitist party of old. And I think still a vast majority of the people who support Donald Trump don't want that. So while Nikki is around and getting votes, I think Democrats are still even more concerned about what they're experiencing on their side, even though that RFK is now an independent, taking a lot of votes away from Joe Biden. This race still comes down to those two men. How the third-party candidates kind of maneuver and jockey,
so you have no anxiety that those 22% might not show up, or that they are reflective of something that might not show up. Indiana's not a close state, but others might be. Do you think there's any Republican softness that is worrisome for the former president in the general, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, et cetera?
No, but I will say this. To those that are still kind of out there wondering what are they going to do if Trump, he's obviously the nominee, what are they going to do? I always argue to them, and I give speeches all the time, and I get that question. Listen, this is between chicken and steak. You don't get a lot of third options, fourth options here. This is your menu you have to decide between. And if you want the policies of Joe Biden to set this country back, who knows how many decades at this point, or the ones that actually gave us record-setting success, you got to go with Donald Trump here. And I think at the end of the day, Republicans will all come home.
I mean, we have seen in polling that they are coalescing around the former president of the Republican Party, but I don't think you can ignore where Haley is getting these votes, which is the suburbs. Time and time again, we've seen this primary has long been over. You could argue it was over before it even began. And she's getting this kind of margin in suburban areas where, as you know, Republicans have been struggling in the Donald Trump era. Quickly,
Hogan, the legal issues for the president, the documents case in Florida, the trial date now delayed indefinitely. The Georgia Appeals Court has said it's going to take up the question of Fani Willis being the lead prosecutor, the visible face of the conspiracy and RICO case there, meaning that's going to be delayed because that's going to take a month or so, possibly longer. The import for the former president, tactically.
Well, delay, I think, only helps Donald Trump at this point because we can kind of push those things down the road. And the closer and closer you get to the election, we can still focus on the issues that matter to the American people. Most people aren't paying attention to this at all, as you all know. Obviously, any ruling they pay attention to. They know if we're going to have a verdict on something, they'd watch. But for the most part, I think Donald Trump, obviously, I would argue he didn't do anything wrong in any of these cases, and he's going to have to make that case to the American people as well, regardless of what happens in the court. But people aren't focused on these types of things. They're worried about immigration. They're worried about the economy. Polls show that. And I think Donald Trump, even on his moments when he gets to come out and talk to the press, he talks about those issues. Of course, he talks about the trial, too.
Among other things as well.
Among other things. But
Hogan Gidley, Kaylin Huey-Burns, thank you so much for being here with me. I appreciate it.